Here we go. Another episode of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, episode 136. This is our opportunity every week to come together to grow, scale, and build our junk removal dreams. As always, I'm your host, Andy Weins with Camo Crew Responsible Junk Removal. And this week, I got my good friend, Joe Odendahl, joining us on the podcast. Joe, what brings you here today?
Oh, I'm excited to talk to you again, Andy. I love recycling. When I first started listening to your podcast, I thought, well, this will be nice. I'll replace some of the political talk radio I listen to, the songs I've heard a million times with something that's involved with what I do for a living, trash, recycling, whatever. And the more I listened, the more I heard about your interest in recycling and your military background. Your father, who was in the window and door replacement business for a long time, which is what I used to do. And it was just a lot of fun to listen to. So I'm happy to be on.
Yeah, no. So Joe is one of the few people that's met me in the real world. Joe came down 2 months ago already now for our recycling summit weekend. So Joe Odendahl and there's 5 other guys came down. So his business, he's up there in BFE, middle of nowhere, Minnesota. Basically, you can tell by the barn picture in his background and the white, desolate, cold through his windows as it looks like. It's also cold. It was 53 here yesterday. It's like 17 today. That's Wisconsin for you. So you run primarily dumpsters, or I mean, almost only dumpsters, right? So dumpster company, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, for the most part. I put out some yard signs, business cards, advertising. It does say junk removal and dumpster rental on it. So I get a few calls for, single item pickups and things, and occasionally a whole house clean out, which this time of year I can consider doing things like that. Yeah. They're pretty fun to do, but being a one-man show with sometimes a helper, it's tough to do when it's construction season and dumpsters are really getting out there.
Yeah, you're flipping dumpsters. So what got you excited? What got you excited in recycling? Because, that's a passion we both share, and it's a passion we have for the industry. What got you excited about recycling?
So that's actually the whole reason why I got involved with dumpster rental. I replaced windows and doors for 20 years. Had a big box truck, and I'd pull up to a warehouse, load all the windows in, rip them out of the house, put the old ones in my box truck, and then back up to a dumpster at the end of the day and throw everything in one big 30-yard dumpster. After a while, I started noticing, hey, there's some good plywood in here from some of the other crews. I could use this for some of the stops, we call them, on the outside of windows before we trim them. So I'd take that instead of buying new material. And, hey, somebody threw some aluminum in there. I'm going to collect that too. And then you start looking at, well, what's left? We have some plastic film. Well, that's recyclable. There's some vinyl side. I wonder if that's recyclable. I'm going to look into that and see if there's a way to recycle the old window frames. And how about window glass? What's left? After we take out all the recyclables, there's really not much left. So that's what really got me excited about this business. And in 2021, I was feeling like, it was a good time to just jump in. Yeah. Like I shared with you at when I stopped in and saw you, very little market research into the dumpster business when I got in. I thought, hey, I'm going to get a truck and, slowly I'll maybe transition from installing windows to renting dumpsters to window companies that I've met over the years and figure out the recycling thing as I go. So a couple years ago, actually about last year, about a year and a half ago, I had some health stuff going on where I woke up totally dizzy one day and decided right then and there to get out of windows and just do this full time. I've been doing it, early mornings, go drop off dumpsters, come home, switch trucks, go install windows all day, come home, get back in the dumpster truck, go pick up the dumpsters and being forced to make that jump. I don't think I would have done it yet, but I was forced to with that brief health thing. So
I love that. The thing is, and you had a brief health thing and you already set yourself up for success. Often what I realize in my life, it's not, they know the right decision. It's the when. The when is what trips them up. It's like the show right before this, I do Andy Wines Live, and I talked about how work is the reward. It's like you saw an opportunity, and you're like, oh, I can recycle this, I can recycle this, I can recycle this. Oh, I can buy a dump truck, and now you're doing it. So what's it been like going from the 20-year career to now you own the business? right? What is that transition like? What's the mindset shift you've gone through?
So as a subcontractor in window replacement, I was already interacting with customers. I was already interacting with businesses. I was already handling my own waste. I was driving a truck. I was doing paperwork, invoicing, and stuff like that. So being confident enough to know that I had the skills to do this was really helpful. And then just applying it, being smart enough to know, like, I can do this because I did this.
Mm-hmm.
And just putting it all together into one package has been really fairly easy to do. Getting work is probably the most important thing, making money. And in recycling, as you know, like there's not a lot of money in recycling.
Yeah.
Most of it's driven by government money, grants. There's a lot of nonprofits that are involved. So trying to make recycling a profitable business is probably, I would say, the biggest challenge. I've had contractors hire me because I recycle vinyl siding, and nobody really recycles vinyl siding. So finding a way to do that is a great selling point. What do I do different than my competition? I'm going to recycle this vinyl. How can I make that an asset to the contractor? Well, I'm going to take some pictures and show him that I'm actually recycling this material, so he can show his customers, and hopefully the whole cycle, he can get more work because he's doing this, and I can get more work as well.
Yeah, that's, I was watching, I spend about 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day in the morning on LinkedIn, marinate on stuff, and it's like this one lady was watching one of her videos, and it was like the most basic video that was all about position. Right? What do you solve? Who do you serve? What makes you unique? And it's like, well, no shit. Like, those are the three basics of marketing. And yet there's so many times I've seen market companies, myself included, I get off on these tangents. I get away from those three basic things. Right. And so you just said that, right? What do you do? I haul away the material. Who do you serve? Contractors and their clients, right? And what makes you unique? Oh, I found resources to, recycle vinyl siding or whatever the material is. And right, okay, so you got that. It's like, well, how do you package that so they understand? And that's marketing, right? And that's one of the challenges, right? This time of year, a lot of, like you said, you slow down. We almost all slow down around the holidays, and especially up here north in the winter. Except for the guy in Maryland, my buddy Max out in Maryland, he gets his busiest season is over the winter because it's all vacation properties. So that's when they're doing their work. So that's a unique situation. Anyways, we all have times in our business where we slow down, and the adage, the thought in a lot of junk removal companies is, oh, I got to stop marketing. I got to pull back my marketing dollars. I got to pull back my sales dollars. It's like, no, you got to be judicious with your sales dollars, and you got to answer those three questions. What do you do? Who do you serve? And why are you unique? And the beautiful thing about the junk removal game is everybody talks about recycling. And yet when you talk to the big companies, the big blue, orange, right, red, whatever color, it's like, well, show me the data. And some, there's one or two that do a great job of showing the data. And there's one or two that do a great job of telling people they recycle, and they don't actually recycle. And so when you can prove out that you do it, that's a differentiator. So for us here at Camo Crew Responsible Junk Removal, we bring people into our facility. You saw my facility. You have a pretty good idea of what material comes off jobs. And you saw a lot of those types of material here in our facility, whether it's, your standard SSRY or glass plastic paper, your single stream recycling, construction debris, and then in electronics and things like that, books, papers. But then you're also seeing clothes. You're seeing mattresses. You're seeing wood. You're seeing all the different products that we bring back here to our facility and we keep out in the landfill. And that's why we host 15, 20 networking events throughout the year, because I can tell you, right, or I can show you. And when people come to our facility here, they really see the difference. Because when you put your can at the end of the driveway once a week, or you hire a junk removal company, or you have a dumpster in your driveway for a couple of weeks, it's like once it's in the physical thing, you no longer think about what impact does that have. Mm-hmm. One of the beautiful things I have going for me is every day on my way home, I drive past the landfill. We have 3 landfills essentially here in Wisconsin, or in the southeast of Wisconsin, and I drive by the biggest one every day on my way home. So I'm reminded every day on my way home why I do what I do, because that hill keeps getting bigger, and they keep making bigger piles, right? And there's more trucks going in and out every day. And I know that. I used to work there. I used to work for Waste Management on the bottom of that hill, and I looked at it every day for years. And that's what motivated me to really make an impact, not only in my community, but also by being here on this podcast and impacting you and others. And you felt so inclined that you took couple days out of your life to come down here, visit us, and see what we do best. What was that like? What was the decision making to go from listener of the podcast to advocate for the industry?
So that was way cool. I listened to your podcast like 5 episodes at a time, and then I won't listen for a couple of weeks, and then I'll catch up a whole bunch at once.
I was wondering when people listen, like when we went from Mondays to Tuesdays, I wonder if I got a bunch of pushback. I really didn't get any pushback, so that's good. Because most people listen, not live the following week. Like they have their designated time. I also know on my other podcast that comes on Wednesdays, I know if it doesn't come out before 4 p.m., I'll have 2 or 3 people text me like, "Hey, did you do a show last week? Because nothing came up this week." I'm like, "Yeah." Like, yell at Taylor. Taylor will probably jump on here. Yeah. Yell at Taylor. If it's late, yell at Taylor.
We all have our routines, and things that try to keep us going. But when I first started listening back again after, a month or so of not listening, it was Casey leaving and then announcing the summit, the Mastermind Summit that you hosted. Yep. And immediately I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, get a chance to go talk to people that care about the things that I care about and also aren't necessarily next door to me. So I've always got that fear that I'm going to give away the secret and somebody's going to come and steal my thunder away, which, isn't really the case, but that's always the kind of the fear,
Yeah, you got to get a little scarcity fear mindset. It happens. It happens to all of us. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I had a blast coming out there. We covered a lot in a couple days, and I left with just a feeling of like satisfied feeling. It was like going to a concert that you've been looking forward to for a long time, and you're on your way out and you feel like, you've just experienced something that's gonna change your life for the better. So that's how I felt when I left. I got a follow-up email from you guys, somebody on your team, just kind of asking how it went and stuff. And I shared with them some of the changes that I made. And one that I wasn't expecting, because we didn't talk about health at all or anything, is I came home the very next day. I just decided I'm going to stop drinking pop and I'm going to stop drinking alcohol. It's a huge thing, and it's a weird thing to me because I love beer. I love drinking beer. I got a beer can collection. Everybody I hang out with, we get along and we sit around and drink beer and have a great time doing it, And I didn't think I could interact with people without doing it. Just seems like a normal thing, and I don't want to come off preachy or anything like that. It's just weird to me that I made that decision, and I'm absolutely loving it and not having any trouble or cravings or anything like that. But it's really just been a mind shift switch since I was down there, which has been really great for me.
So let's talk about that. All right, that's okay. I absolutely wanted to hear about the tactical stuff, or what you took away when you changed your business. So tell me about. I want to dig into this. So what was that? How did coming down here get you to pay attention to your health?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, when we were done for the day, I was kind of expecting everybody to go out drinking at the end and do some networking and stuff. We were all staying at different parts of town. So I went out by myself and immersed myself in bar dice and, hanging out with some locals downtown where I was staying and just had a great time. And something, when I woke up with that hangover on my way home, getting on that plane, I had these words echoing in my head. It was something I think I'd like to give you the credit for it if you did say it. But it was set massive goals for yourself and remove everything that's in the way of achieving those goals. And the drinking, it's not like I have a huge problem with it. But when you get to the end of the day and you're at that part where you're going to kind of shut your mind down and go to sleep, I can choose to either, have a beer and stay awake, have a couple. All of a sudden, a couple hours has passed that, worst case scenario, I could have went to sleep and been a little bit more prepared for the next day. Or I could have, wrote some stuff down that I was thinking throughout the day. I could read a book. That's one of my goals, is to read a book. I haven't read a book in a long time. I'm working my way there. Right?
Yeah, I know. Here's the deal. I fucking love that, right? And so, and Taylor just hit in the private chat. Like, I literally, like a half hour ago, I talked about that. Verbatim, Taylor and I, right before we got on the show, Taylor and I were talking about Andy Weins Live. And it's always, you have a fucking goal, right? In everything you do in life, either it's start, stop, continue. Do the things you've done or are the things you're doing contributing to getting to that goal, or are they not? Like it is cut and dry. What's interesting too is I sat with Chuckit Removal Services up there outside of Toronto. They were here last week. Brought me on as a kind of fractional CFO to get their numbers in line, which is something I'm doing now for companies. I will jump in as a fractional CFO for junk removal companies and really all service-based companies, because I see there's a huge gap between where accountants are and financial literacy. So you got a little taste of that over the Mastermind weekend we did, and I got another Mastermind weekend coming up 24th, 25th of January. We're going to be doing pro formas, and so pro formas, operations, really focusing on the financials. How did you finish last year? What are your goals for next year? What do you need to do? So it's that same methodology. We're going to dive in really deep on the 24th, 25th of January. Going back to with Chuckit, last week with Chuckit, they're at a number. I said, what do we want to grow? Right? Do we want to grow 5, 10, 15, 25, 45, 50%? What do we want to grow? And we got to a number. It's like 25% growth. And they're like, yeah, we can do that. I go, does it scare you? They're like, no, that doesn't scare me. I go, it's not big enough. The goal needs to scare you. I said, my first year in business, I said, we're going to do our first full year in business. I sat there in our living room. It was probably late January, early February. I had PowerPoint, I had fucking graphs and charts, and right. I sat with my board. My board at the time was all of our employees, 4, my mom and dad and my girlfriend. There was 7 people in the room, and I sat there in our living room, with a TV screen, presenting our vision. And I said, we're going to do $500,000 this year. And my dad left the meeting. He told my mom, he goes, he has no clue what he's doing. There's no way. Not going to happen. How are you going to do $500,000? Right? That year, we did $900,000 in revenue. Oh. And $500,000 scared me. Mm-hmm. And yet I said, we're going to do this. And so every decision was consistent with that. What's also interesting, you brought about drinking. 2 years ago, I stopped drinking March 18th of 2023. And again, this is not a preach. This is what I said and what I did. And I realized, same thing with you. I was at the night before, I was at a bar. The 18th was the last time I had a drink. So 19th, I guess I quit, whatever. I was at a bar one night with my buddy. We're playing cribbage, Wisconsin, Minnesota game. We're sitting there playing cribbage. I go, this doesn't get me closer to my goals. This doesn't get me where I want to go. And so that's it. And the next day, I was offered a beer, playing cribbage again. And I go, nah, not today. Not today. Maybe someday, not today. I haven't looked back since. And the more and more I look into it, there's more and more CEOs and business people where they cut alcohol out. Actually, alcohol sales were down or finished down this year for the first time in for like forever, even among young people, because it doesn't serve my goals. And I bartended for years. Hell, I'm sitting here in my office right now. I got Pabst stuff and Schlitz stuff. Like, I'm a huge fan of Milwaukee breweries and the history. And I love drinking beer, right? I'm a big fan. And yet it no longer serves me. And so when I look at my goals, like you said, my thing now is like, and now I have other vices, right? Like, I dead scroll on fucking social media. So I deleted the Facebook app like 2 months ago. Wow, it's been great. Right. And I find myself now, I dead scroll LinkedIn, which is not nearly as fucking entertaining. I'll tell you that much. Right. And now when I find myself on LinkedIn more than like 10 minutes, I'm just now I'm reading crap, or I'm reading the political crap. I'm like, yep, got to get out of this. Right. Mm-hmm. So whether I read or I meditate or I go to bed, like, all those things are better than crap. Even watching something on Netflix that'll just wind me down is better than drinking or dead scrolling where my mind is active. Like, I watch a documentary, watch a documentary on Netflix. I'm like, I'm asleep in 10 minutes. Actually, I'm watching one. Total plug. I'm watching one right now. With Churchill at War. It's a 4.
Me as well,
dude.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go. Like, I'm watching. It's so good. I was watching the one. I watched the Amazon had a Winston Churchill documentary, and it was like one episode, and I was like, I want to know more. Also, I decided, my business coach, George W. Bush, that's his guy. Like, that's his favorite politician. He's like, that's my guy, right? And I've never been evangelical about politicians. And yet I think about it, like let's go back to George Washington through Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln. Like, there's all parts of these guys. I'm like, that's pretty cool. All right, I can see that. We got George crossing the Delaware, like fucking people up on Christmas Day. Like, yeah, I fuck with that. Abraham Lincoln, who, obviously there's a lot to be said about him, but ultimately he kept the nation together, and he believed in the cause when there was plenty of times he could have taken the easy road. He also lost 7 elections straight before he made the presidency. Yeah. Like, talk about resiliency. Like, that's why I like Abe.
Yes.
The more I learn about Winston Churchill, that's my fucking guy. Like, he was destined to be the prime minister, and he got kicked down and down and down. Like, he went from glorified to vilified, and then he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go to World War I. I'm gonna go as an officer. And he shows up, and they think he's gonna be this, kind of a prissy, prompt guy, right? He's, because he went from parliament to being an officer. And he showed up and he put the work in. He crossed no man's land. Like, he did the thing, and then he came back, and they still didn't believe in him. They still doubted him when he's like, hey, Hitler's bad. Like, Hitler's bad. They're like, well, he's not that bad. He's like, no, he's terrible. Like, this is not going to fucking work, right? And then he becomes president. He becomes prime minister the day that Germany invades France. Like, the Low Country. Like, shit sandwich. And then they fire him. At the end of the war, they're like, yeah, no, we don't want you anymore. And then they rehire him later. They're like, all right, we kind of fucked up. Like, talk about ups and downs. Like, he got and the whole while he's like, he almost did not change who he was. He was bold. He was aggressive. He said what he said. He was very particular. He did speeches, and he wrote, like, he knew what the fuck he wanted. He never stopped chasing that dream.
Yes.
So, total tangent.
Totally. And a good one.
He's my guy. So I'm declaring right now, Andy Weins is political. That's my fucking guy. Winston Churchill. Done.
Yeah. I learned a lot from watching the first couple episodes of that. And one thing that stands out is that he just did the thing, right? I know did the thing.
Here we go. I got my.
There you go. Nice. You got
fucking tattoo. Newest fucking tattoo. This was a after the fact tattoo. So I got new ink on this arm, and then I was gonna get some work done here, but I couldn't figure it out. So I got this, We the People, because I'm fucking American as fuck. Let's fucking go. No big deal. Flexing the guns. For those of you guys listening, I'm showing off tattoos right now. And then I was standing there in front of the mirror. I crossed my arms to see how this tattoo looked. I was like, fuck, I gotta stand up a little bit. I was like, fuck, I should get something right here. So fucking DTFT, fuck it. So I got it. So I'm getting the rest of this arm worked on actually later today. But yeah, so do the fucking thing. Right? Like he did the thing. He's like, fuck it, let's go. Because what's interesting is on this tattoo, my daughter saw it the other day. She was in town for Thanksgiving, and she's like, you got to add the letter R. I go, why do you got to add the letter R? She goes, well, do the F wording. She always calls it F wording, right? Do the F wording thing right. And I go, wow, you've been indoctrinated by school. Like, I got to beat this indoctrination out of you, right? Because it's not about doing it right. It's about doing it only after the fact when you realize it's right. Like with you, it's like you had a health scare, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm going to go do a dumpster business. It's like, you didn't know if you were doing the right thing. You just did the thing. Like, it was obvious to you. It's like, oh, I'm going to now get involved in this business. Also, I had someone email me earlier today telling me he loves watching my content and I talk way too fast. So I'm gonna do the thing.
I joined
a lower speed, the tempo. We're gonna bring the tempo down for the average listener.
Oh, I love it. I joined a local chamber recently. It was kind of a cool situation that got me to join this chamber. But speaking of doing the effing thing,
there we go.
I was talking to somebody and they said, "Oh, have you ever been to this winery over here? This Indian Island, I think it's called Winery." I said, "No," and they're like, "Yeah, it's beautiful. A farmer started it." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, like a grape farmer?" "No, he was a pig farmer." I'm like, "Well, how does he go from a pig farmer to a winery?" And they go, "Well, somebody came to him and said, 'Hey, there might be gravel under your farm.' So he started a gravel pit. And then after a while, he made enough money at the gravel pit that him and his kids wanted to start a winery. And they created this massive winery that's really popular in the area." He was a pig farmer. Then he was a gravel pit owner. You know, he just did the thing, and one thing led to another. Opportunities presented themselves, and he was aware enough to pull them in and go for it.
Well, and that's why I love that, because, you know, the goal is I'm going to run a business, right? If his goal is I'm going to own a business and make my land work for me, or what, right? Everything that fits under that umbrella works. Yell at Andy if he's talking too fast. I like that.
I see that.
Taylor put a banner up. That's I told him to yell at me in case I do talk fast. There he goes. He likes playing with the technology. Well, because at that point it's like, hey, I'm gonna be independent, figure out the thing that serves me, and go. I love that, because what ends up happening is when people are so this is why I tell people, set a financial goal and work towards it. Don't fit fast, don't be so fixated on it that you forget. You're going to stumble and bumble along the way. Like with you, you're like, oh, I'm going to recycle more. All right, well, now I'm going to have a dumpster company and just see how that works. And it's like, oh shit, now I have a dumpster company, and now I'm going to continue recycling and having the dumpster company. It's like, actually, I even told you your branding was on. You're rocking your sweatshirt there. Like your branding's on point. Like all those other things line up when you have a very clear and simple North Star. Like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. It's the guys that get into this hustle. They're like, I'm going to make a shitload of money doing junk removal. It's like, well, good luck with that, man. It's like, how about you grow a sustainable business, right? Impact your community, recycle. When you do all that stuff, I can tell you from proven experience over the last 9 years, you'll end up living a much better life. When I focus on the money, I didn't live a great life. I made money. The fuck's the matter? You know, making money to spend money is not exciting. Living is exciting.
Yeah, and you know, help people out and keep stuff out of the landfill. That's my main 2 goals. If I could do that through recycling or reuse, whatever it takes, that's if I'm not doing those 2 things, I'm not doing my job. I'm not living up to my goals. So I've had a lot of opportunities in business to help through nonprofits and things like that with material. An example would be mattress disposal. Super expensive in Minnesota to get rid of a mattress. Some places are $50 to get rid of a mattress. And I can't find a person that'll pay me $100 to get rid of a mattress. So I don't know how I'm going to afford $50 to get rid of a mattress. Right. So, $50, I can haul a mattress for $50. Sure. You know, leave me a review on Google. I'll come get your mattress. Our local landfill takes them for $25. There's a nonprofit that gives jobs to people, recently incarcerated people, and helps get them back into the workforce and everything. Gives them stable employment, certifications, all that stuff. $27.50 to get rid of a mattress. I'm paying an extra $2.50. I'm interacting with this great nonprofit, which has its own connections and things which can help me out. But I'm helping the people, keeping stuff out of the landfill, helping people. That's much more rewarding than paying the landfill $25 to get rid of a mattress, right?
Well, see how simple that is? Those are very clear. And then you go back to what we were talking about earlier. We talked about drinking. It's like, do your actions and activities line up with that, right? Like for me, it's go places, say words. That's it. Like when I look at that's it. Go places, say words, right? Like I like traveling. I like talking, right? So writing my book gets me closer there. Doing podcasts gets me closer there, right? Those things get me closer to being on stages, being in front of people, and sharing my ideals with the world. And even, you know, to the point of having our pro forma weekend we got coming up in January. I'm going to come here. People are going to meet me here, and I'm going to say words so that I can better influence them, because I'm an advocate I am the champion for team small business, right? I can talk about what I'm against, right? I'm against franchises and big corporations and fucking corporate overlords. No, I am fucking for team small business, right? And I'm also I'm not going to franchise my business model. I'm also for individual brands and individual business owners. Like, I love your fucking brand. I even told you that. I was like, actually, I asked you to send me a hat. Your make trash great again hat. Like those hats,
Make trash useful again.
Yeah. No, I told you ship me. You gotta send me one. I will rock it. Actually, here, hold on. I'm gonna put on my my KNS hat right now. Hold on. Your Minnesota brethren, and I gotta put on. There we go. See, there we go. This
nice. Love it.
This will be my new. There we go. This is my new pitch. I talked about this last week with Chuck, and I rock Chuck. It's here. You send me fucking merch. I'll wear it on the show. That's it. This is a no money exchanged. I wear a hat. Yeah, I love your make trash useful again. It's such a dumb, awesome hat. Because like you know what? You're bringing people together. The MAGA people will think that you're one of them, and the liberals will be like, "Oh, I can't hate you for that." You're like, "I'm bringing people together." So
right
now, I'm rocking my KNS.
The timing on this hat, and I got it on the back of sweatshirts and
that's your full. That's your full fucking. Yep. See, your branding's even better than I thought. Yeah, see, your fucking marketing's on point.
I came up with this in a meeting. It was a BNI meeting that I used to be a part of. What do you do? I recycle. I want to make trash useful again. You know, I'm like, well, that kind of sounds like MAGA, right? Well, the timing on these hats happened to be, I ordered them, and then Joe Biden called half the country garbage before
dude.
I got the hats. So a lot of people thought, that's what I was going for. And it's like, no, I'm just really good at timing, right?
You'd rather be lucky than good, baby. All right. I will send me a hat. I will rock a hat.
I will. I had these printed last minute before I came to visit.
Yeah,
I had to compromise. These aren't the Richardson hats that I like. So.
I'm very particular. Actually, I like this. So KNS, here's another Minnesota dumpster and more junk removal and dumpster company. This hat's actually pretty good. I wore this one other time. It's a little bit.
Yeah, those guys do a little demolition too.
Those guys are good shit. Yeah.
Enjoyed talking to them while I was out there. I got to reach out to them.
Yeah, they came down. I met them like a year and a half ago, maybe. I had 2 hot tub dollies and I only needed 1. So they came down here like on a Sunday or Saturday, like drove down here 6 hours, picked up the hot tub dolly, and then drove back 6 hours. Like full on 15-hour day to pick up a hot tub dolly and hang out with me for an hour. It was great though. I showed them the warehouse and then they came down. They came down for our last mastermind to talk numbers. So hey, all's well that ends well. So yeah, there we go. There's my pitch. Send me fucking swag and I'll wear it. So I think Q Hall in Colorado. I'm gonna go see him in January when I'm in town. Maybe I'll say what's up to him for a minute.
Coffee with him driving down. I wish I would have drove down. I flew to St. Louis.
Yeah. You
get to Milwaukee. I flew to St. Louis and drove up through Illinois. I stopped and looked at some recycling equipment on my way. There's a bar in southern Wisconsin that has a General Lee on the roof, so I stopped there.
Naturally.
And, watched some football that was on TV and talked to some locals. That was pretty fun. And then made my way to Milwaukee and drove the rental car to Chicago and flew up. And there was it would have been shorter just to fly, just to drive straight there.
Yeah, drive to and from.
All the flights and everything. But hey, next time.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So you quit. Okay. I want to wrap this point up before we move on to the next point because we're tangent. This show is the tangent talk, the trash tangent podcast, trash talk tangent podcast. There we go. Triple T, something like that.
Yeah.
TTT. So I want to wrap up the point about drinking the pop and the soda because you said something interesting. You said that you thought it was going to be a problem when you came back home. And what's been the has it been a problem? What has been that, right? Because often when people make changes, they're fearing something's going to happen, and then it's all unfounded.
Yeah, it totally is. You just kind of get used to having that can in your hand while you're talking to people. You get in your stance, and you're just kind of it's your comfort, right? It's your comfort zone.
It's your ball and chain. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It totally is. It totally is. And I can love it and I can leave it behind. I can do something else, right? I had something interesting happen. I went to the Minnesota Vikings game with my 9-year-old son. Took him to his first game on Sunday.
That's cool.
And and I'm like,
hey, it was a shellacking. You guys put the work in. Yeah, it was a shellacking that game.
Great game for his first game. 21, a lot more fun when you win,
Oh yeah.
So after the game, we went down and we're waiting for the players to walk out. And he's got one player in particular that he really likes, Andrew Van Ginkel. My son's got a mullet. Andrew Van Ginkel's got long hair, so he naturally that's his idol, right? And we ended up getting him to sign. He signed my son's hat and stuff outside the stadium. Awesome. But while we're waiting for him, one of our defensive players is just standing there. Nobody recognizes him, and he's drinking beer out of the back of his Escalator, his SUV or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey man, you want one?" And I'm like, "Oh no, thanks. I quit drinking. I actually feel really healthy now that I start. Oh yeah, I'm not going to preach to this football player, but." If you would have told me 5 years ago when I was going to games all the time and drinking heavily throughout the game that a Vikings player would be offering me a beer and I'd say no, like you're crazy, man. So if I can pass that test, I guess I'm good to go.
I love it. All right, so there you go. So mission accomplished. All right, what else?
Oh, go soda too. Like soda's pretty bad for you. So I figured if I quit drinking alcohol, I would replace it with soda, and I like to go to restaurants and things. And am I just going to be drinking Mountain Dew all day long or all night? No, I'm going to try to make healthier choices in that way.
My go-to is decaf coffee. So whenever you guys see me drinking, I have 1 cup of regular coffee earlier because I would drink I would crock regular all day, sleep like shit, and then drink regular all day again. Mm-hmm. Also, I read something earlier today about energy drinks. When you're drinking energy drinks over 40, like you're basically trashing your body. So there's that. So when I go to networking events, because that's potentially problematic, I get a seltzer water with 2 green olives. And if somebody asks me, like, yeah, it's water. So I have my drink, right? It's my placebo. I stand there, my little fucking. I basically get green olives. I eat green olives all night. That's basically what I'm telling you, right? Like if I ask for 2 green olives, I'll look weird. But if I have a cup with green olives in it, and I'll just keep having them keep adding green olives. Although the green olives, the fancy ones with the blue cheese in them, not a fan. Not a blue cheese guy. Yeah, I don't like the.
I'm into it. I'm into it.
That's a northern Wisconsin thing for sure. Is you want the pimento or the blue cheese? It's like blue. People are like, yeah, fucking give me the blue cheese. No, not me.
Yeah, I'm into it.
All right. So what else? What else have you changed mindset wise or business wise since you were here for our last mastermind weekend?
Actually, something really exciting that I just happened last Friday. It was actually right after I got back about 6 weeks ago from visiting you guys. A friend of mine that's on the board for the Solid Waste Association of North America, SWANA, hit me up and said, hey, we got an opening on the board. Would you consider joining? I'm like, sure, I'll throw my name in. Like, we'll see what happens, and I do have a political background. I was the chairman of a Republican Party down where I live and stuff for a little while. And I've done some campaigning and helped get people elected. So I'm thinking I'm going to run for this board position. I'm going to, do what I do and call people and try to get elected. And we're going to really, go for this thing. And well, it's still pretty busy this time of year. So I didn't do any of those things. I just threw my name in the hat and went to the annual meeting. And I looked at the other people that were on the board and I said, well, I seem to be the only one one of the only ones who's actually touching trash every day. Going in these landfills, sometimes 4 or 5 landfills in a day. So I put that on my nominations form and I went to the annual meeting last week and was elected to a board position. So I'm super, super excited about that. We have our first meeting this afternoon.
Awesome.
Actually. So, man, the networking opportunities that provides and being able to have an impact on policy and events and, lining up speakers and vendors and things like that is going to be way cool. So,
This is what I love. This is what I love about what we're doing here on this podcast, right? This podcast has evolved. Year 1 was absolutely tactical, how to run a junk removal company, right? That was the thing. Year 2 was how to become the whole entrepreneur, right? And now year 3 has really been more about empowering the entire industry. This is not an advocacy podcast where we're going to go, storm the fucking Capitol and post and legislate. No, it's how do we organically make the industry better? Like the fact that you are on a board and you're the only one that touches trash every day. It's like you can have people with big degrees and philosophical ideas and backgrounds in government. And it's like, well, yeah, but my boots are fucking dirty. I put the work in. I see what impact is made every day based on the decisions made in this room. And that's what I want to really preach to our audience is you have the opportunity to impact this industry. The junk roll industry is 40 years old. It's a young industry. Standards have not been established in the industry yet. Everybody here has the opportunity to influence this industry. And as there's more regulation, as your big waste companies continue to get consolidated, they're taking less and less material. And at the same time, we're living in a more disposable society. So we're buying more shit that lasts less time. So we're increasing our trash. So there's a time when we're going to get even more work because what your curbside, your 8-yarders, your roll-offs, right, aren't going to pick and can't take to the transfer station. We're going to have to get creative in this industry in order to grow the recycling end, right? And transitioning away from the waste industry and more in the recycling industry. And recognizing where we're coming from. I love your hat, right? Make trash useful again. It's like you're recognizing the optics and now it creates a conversation. I talked to this woman earlier today with, I see I'm talking fast now because I get excited. I talked to a woman earlier today and she was talking about, she does PR for environmental companies. And she's like, yeah, a lot of people, there's the banner. A lot of people get turned off when you're talking about green and all of a sudden green became this political thing that's like anti, capitalism. It's like, look at you, you're a supporter of the Republican Party, right? I'm a raging libertarian. I imagine we both, voted similar. And it's like, yeah, I can be capitalistic and environmentalistic at the same time because it's not a political issue. It's like we got one fucking planet. Let's make the most of it and be capitalistic in our approach because eventually transfer station and landfills, Minnesota, you guys already feel the burn, right? The cost prohibition, and that's going to continue. So we got to get innovative as to how we keep these materials out of the landfill. It starts with us. We touch it first. We have the opportunity to educate the consumer while we're in their home and businesses. We have the opportunity to facilitate that relationship between the consumer and the vendor that wants that material. That's our opportunity here in this industry.
Yeah, I agree 100%. A lot of these events, and I seek out events. I find the recycling organizations, the garbage organizations. I go to their events as a stranger and just walk up to people and say, hey, I was standing over there by myself and I don't know anybody here. So hi, I'm Joe. I have a dumpster and recycling company, and just meet people and just throw yourself out there. And it's crazy how many people have in recycling problems that they want to solve and nothing but government money to throw at it is kind of how the recycling industry works. Every time I talk to somebody that's in the pollution control agency or anything, it's, hey, we got a grant for that. Hey, do you know that you can get a grant? It's like, well, I'd like to think it's a good enough idea to survive on its own, but I'll consider it. Right.
Yeah.
People hire me because I recycle and I show that I recycle and I prove it. And sometimes I'll get that person, they'll say on the phone, hey, I'm hiring you because you recycle this and that. And they'll still hide a television under their load in their dumpster. But, people care enough about it, but they're still not, they need you to do the thing. They need you to facilitate the actual recycling. So every city, every county, every state, every corporate company has a 2030 plan or a 2040 plan that says, we're going to reduce waste. We're going to eliminate carbon. We're going to do all this stuff. So they're telling you that they want you to do this for them.
Yep.
Their entire business plan of their corporation states in it that they are going to recycle more and reduce carbon. So us as the waste touchers, the garbage touchers, we're the people who have the opportunity to implement that and come up with procedures and do the fucking thing, right?
Yeah. Well, right. I love it. You're preaching my brand for me. Because ultimately, we have the opportunity to be the professionals, right? They want the warm and fuzzy. Most consumers want the warm and fuzzy to know that their material is not going to end up in a landfill, right? So it's like, yeah, we're going to prove it, not just say we're going to do it. Again, like a lot of those big franchise companies, we're actually going to do it. And what's going to happen eventually is there's nothing proprietary about what we're doing. Eventually, the whole industry will shift and move into what we're doing because the consumer is going to demand it. They're going to demand that we show the receipts, metaphorically speaking, demand that we're doing things right because the consumers are becoming more and more aware. And so for the Chuck and the Trucks types or the junk mold companies that, these guys are, the fastest way to $100,000 and cut down my landfills. It's like, you're going to be left by the wayside, right? Because it's going to be us that are professional and develop processes and think about the long-term impact of our industry, not how to get paid today. We're going to be still standing here in 5, 7, 10 years from now having these conversations, and all these Chuck and the Trucks are going to the wayside. And I'm very adamant about that. I preach it because I've seen tons of these guys, these fly-by-night guys. They come in, they make a few bucks, and then they get out of the industry. And the ones that are committed to sustainability, I'll argue, not only are they sustainability in their best practices when it comes to recycling, they're also sustainable in the best practices when it comes to running a business. They get their marketing and their operations and their finances in order so that when it does slow down in the winter, they're not out of business. Because that's what I'm fighting, right? 80% of businesses don't make it 10 years. I'm fighting for the junk mold companies. I want people to grow in this industry. I want to have a seasoned amount of junk mold companies out here. They're making the industry great because when the industry is great, we're all going to benefit from it. And so again, that's why I do the podcast. I put the information out for free so people like you can, binge listen to 5 episodes at a crack and grow your business because of it. Like that's what this comes down to. That's why I do it. And now knowing that you're going to be an advocate at a board level of it's a national organization, right?
It's a national organization. Yeah. It's our Minnesota, North Dakota chapter is.
But you have influence. But now you have influence in your region to shape and mold this industry. Like that, that's what I get off to.
Yeah, that's huge. And the networking opportunities that provides as well. Like I'm getting to meet with people that are, pretty high up in different parts of waste. There's people that deal with wastewater, there's landfill designers, people with the university, other very large dumpster companies that are in the room with me to try to solve problems. So it's pretty exciting. With recycling building materials, when I'm sorting a dumpster, I'm putting an hour to 2 hours into sorting a construction dumpster, say, and I'm able to reduce waste by massive amounts by the amount of materials that I'm able to recycle.
Yeah.
But sorting, trying to find ways, do I need to redesign the dumpster? Do I need to take this rectangle and create something different out of it that makes it easy, cuts down on my labor where some pre-sorting is happening? Are people willing to do pre-sort?
Yeah,
these are huge ideas that.
My heat of the moment thought is put a couple of baffles in there. Have like 2 or 3 baffles so you can say, hey, right, you got a 20 traditional dumpsters are 20 foot, right? So it's like 7 feet for metal, 7 feet for concrete, for drywall or whatever, 7 feet for insulation and non-recyclable material, and then you could baffle dump it where you dump or clear out a section at a time. That's fucking interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like the recycling containers that sort. They'll put them at the school and it'll have bottles, cans.
Yeah. Correct. It's one unit, but it has 3 bags essentially. That's fucking interesting. Yeah, because the other thing is, I've been in so many fucking job sites where it's like they got a MSW, C&D, and then MSW, municipal solid waste, C&D, construction debris, and then a metal dumpster. And I'll drive by and it's all fucking, metal ones are normally pretty good, but then the other ones, it's all intermixed because people are just chucking bags over top. And it's, again, once a load's contaminated, once you put some shit in there, most drivers are going to take it to the MSW, where they're going to take it to the lowest common denominator and be like, yep, not worth it. It's like, fuck, that's 4 or 5, 6, tons of material that could have got diverted. Now we're being lazy and taking it to the fucking landfill.
Oh, yeah. I was touring one of our landfills. They have it's a construction landfill nearby. They also do curbside recycling. Everybody brings their plastic bottles and jugs and cardboard thing. They dump it on a huge floor and it rides these conveyor belts through what seems like a 3 or 4 story building. And as we're on the tour, they say, we're looking for tanglers like extension cords and plastic bags and things that are going to trash this whole load of recycling. We're going to have to, dump it all in the landfill. And right as they're saying that, a sink goes by on the conveyor belt, and then a golf bag full of golf clubs goes by. And, who's throwing this in their curbside recycling bin? There's some laziness out there too, but, how can we make it easy for people to recycle? That is how we're going to improve recycling rates, whether it's redesigning containers or giving them education, literature, putting a sticker on the container. How can I help people to make it easy for them? Because nobody cares about my time. They care about their time. How can I make it take less time for them to sort this recycling?
Yeah, it's interesting to bring that up. I had Maite on a couple episodes ago, and she was talking about that. How would you design the perfect, system? And her whole thing was to have everyone commingle it and then just pay a lot of labor to sort it, because then you either pay it to go to the landfill or you pay the labor to sort it to keep it out of the landfill, right? So you take the responsibility away from the consumer. And my whole thing was educate the consumer, because like Germany, for example, Germany has a 99% return on aluminum cans, right? In the United States, we have less than 55%. And aluminum is one of the most valuable recyclables out there. Aluminum can be recycled an infinite amount of times. Like paper and plastic have limitations. Steel has limitations because of the weight. Actually, it's being more weight. It has limitations. Aluminum is one of the most recyclable materials out there in the world. And yet here in the United States, with all the programs we have less than 55% recycling rate. I know, because I go to concerts and shows and what do you call it? I was going to say carnivals, but no, like outdoor festivals. I was failing to remember the word festivals. Festivals where they have garbage cans, right? And they're just full of a fucking aluminum beer bottles and beer cans, right? The 16 ounce. And then you see, homeless vagrants or whomever, they dig through them and they find all those bottles. So it's like, there's a value to them. Someone sees the value, right? How do we either shift the mindset of Americans or penalize them through dollars, so then corporations will be more incentivized to come up with better plans, right? And put things on the tipping floor, sort them, and keep on. I remember when I worked for Waste Management, it was like 10 years ago, I was working, this guy was talking about a landfill they bought where the landfill, they just throw all the cardboard in there. And he ran an operation over the course of a year, and they recovered $1.5 million of cardboard from a landfill. You know how much fucking cardboard is a $1.5 million? But they figured out, basically, they had to figure out because cardboard slips and slides. So he's talking about how they designed a better bucket on a front end loader that could back drag it and then pick it up, because, you know, picking cardboard by hand, $1.5 million worth is a pain in the ass. So it's like, well, they saw the financial incentive. This was like 20 years ago when cardboard was really high, and they're like, fuck, we got this landfill that we bought from somebody else. That's all for that they just knew was full of cardboard that was near a manufacturing sector. It's like, how do we recover all this material? Like, how do we prevent it from going to landfill in the first place? I talked to this woman last week at a networking event. I've known her. She's part of the Commercial Association of Realtors, Wisconsin. And she's like, she was telling me about post-apocalyptic world. You know, she loves movies and books on post-apocalypse. Or I'm like, I want nothing to do with that, right?
Yeah.
But she was talking about, she's like, do you think there's gonna be a time like post-apocalypse where like we go to landfills to mine for good material? And I was like, if we had like a 15-minute conversation about this, and I was like, yeah, you're not wrong, right? And like my goal is like, how do we prevent it from going to landfill in the first place? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I want to live in the now, not the post-apocalyptic world where I'm digging through trash. Like, that ain't the world I want to live in, you know?
Yeah.
There's places all over the world where people dig through trash every day, you know, especially developing nations where, you know, the ones that have made it are throwing away great useful items that those that, you know, those are below the poverty line and then some are digging through that trash to find material, find stuff that still has life.
I'm constantly taking photos in landfills, you know, quickly because they're busy places. But why are there bales of plastic coming off of a truck? Why are there metal lids from glass jars? Why is there a whole truckload of these in the landfill? And somewhere along the line, it was easier and cheaper to dump them in a landfill than it was to recycle them.
And not even correct, maybe not even cheaper. It was just people aren't thinking. They go with what they know, right? And if that's a lack of innovation, lack of foresight. It's a make a buck today, not what's sustainable tomorrow. And that's the mindset that I want us to have in this industry. And the consumers are going to respond. The right consumers are asking for the data. They're looking for the reports. Like in your case, they're asking for the pictures because they want to be able to sell that to their customers. Mm-hmm. Because as a world, we're becoming more aware of it. And I want it to be done through capitalism, not legislation. I want it to be done because we inherently want to do it, right? A whole culture shift here in America. One of the challenges we have in America is we have so much goddamn space. We can just build in a landfill. It's like out of sight, out of mind. Europe, it's more communal, it's smaller, it's compact. Cities have been established for hundreds, if not thousands of years, versus the United States, where it's maybe 100 or 200 years. And so they've had to deal with this for all these years. So they've developed better practices and better processes. And they can't just, dig another hole. That's one of the challenges we have in America is like, we have this capitalistic, we don't care, we don't have to look at it mindset. So it's really about shifting and shaping the mindset of Americans about the environmental responsibility we have from the point of purchase all the way through end of life and really more life. And so some industries like the electronics industry, we're getting better at. We got a long way to go. And we have the opportunity now to be, like you said, the trash handlers, the frontline recyclers. That's ultimately what we are.
Yes.
Here we are. We are 5 to the hour. Joe, this has been an absolute pleasure. There is an advantage, absolutely, when I know people that are guests, because we can get the meat and potatoes a lot quicker. And everybody, this is one thing that I offered everybody that came out to the recycling summit. Everybody that was at the recycling summit that we had about 6 weeks ago here are going to be invited on as a guest of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, so they can talk about what they experienced here, how it shaped and molded their business. And that's going to be the same thing we're going to offer for people that come out for our Performa Mastermind weekend in January. I'll have you guys on the podcast anywhere from 60 to maybe 90, even upwards of 180 days later, because we want to check in. I want to check in to see what's working. What have you changed in your business? Because it's all about growth, right? This podcast is all about taking you from where you were to where you want to be. Yes, there's entertaining and it's educational. It's really about you and what you can do with that information so that you can live that life. I always start the podcast talking about how you can grow, scale, and build your junk removal dream. And that's why we do what we do here. So, Joe, I appreciate you coming out a couple weeks ago. I was excited to meet you because I didn't even know who you were until you showed up. Like a couple of the other people I had talked to, where they messaged me, like, you just showed up, like, hey, what's up? I'm Joe. And I'm like, all right, Joe, let's fucking go. You know, like, we had a great time. I appreciate you making time here in the middle of your day on a Tuesday. What's your top takeaway, most impactful thing from today's conversation?
From today's conversation, and also from just listening to the podcast over the past year or so, it's been just a mind shift in things, being more solutionary with the process. We know there's a problem. We're on the ground level. There's people that get paid a lot of money to solve these problems, and they have more limitations than you or I do.
Oh, yeah.
So being on the ground level, being able to dream things and implement them, we can do that pretty quickly compared to other people. So listening to the podcast and all the different guests that you have on from a wide variety of backgrounds, just every little bit, you get a little bit. You listen to the episode, it's an hour long, and might be 50 minutes in, and it's like, that's my takeaway. That is what I can implement in my own business. I was waiting for it. There it is. Every episode has that in it. So my top takeaway would be the mindset. Change your mindset. I've changed mine. We have more power than we think we do in this industry. So build that confidence and get after it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's, what you hit, that's the word I'm going to use in my top takeaway: mindset shift. You said the fact that you quit drinking and drinking soda because we sat around for a day and a half talking about recycling and operations and goals, like that to me is the power of planting the seed, right? That's the power of mindset shift, right? And like you said, yeah, hey, Andy, it sounds like maybe you said this. And it's like, fuck, I say that all the time. I say that so much that Taylor's sick of hearing me say it about, right? Have your goals, have your North Star, and do the actions and activities that follow that North Star. And when they don't, stop doing them. So the fact that you had that revolutionary of a mindset shift shows the power of growth, right? So I'm going to give you credit there, Joe. That's that growth, right? You went from being employed for 20 years to being a business owner to now being empowered in your own life to a point where you're now an advocate, a board member for the industry. All about that empowerment, right? Start of the mindset shift and focus on what you want out of this world and how do you get there. I love that empowerment. So, Joe, thank you so much for taking time, right? The guy I met 2 months ago, hawking fucking dumpsters out of necessity, to the guy that's in for me today, like, revolutionary. I fucking love it. I love having people like you on the team, right? The advocates for the industry. All right. Speaking of advocates, we're going to hear the big finish next week. Got Barry Hartman coming on. Last week I said he was going to be this week. Conflict, yada yada. Joe came in kind of last minute. Appreciate him taking the time. Barry Hartman's coming on next week. Barry Hartman is with Bolt Accelerator and a 505 junk removal. So 505 is a business that grew from 2 to 5 million over about a 5-year period, and now they're going from 5 to 10 million. His Bolt Accelerator focuses on companies to get them from that 1 million to that 5 million piece. Like Joe said here, every episode, the goal is you leave with a takeaway, 2 or 3 nuggets of actionable items. And with Barry, I know there's going to be a lot of takeaways. He's been on the show before, and moving forward, he's going to be featured the last month of every quarter. So kind of like Andy Barton, he's going to be a regular guest because I really look up to him and what he's doing. He's moving this industry forward. And so we'll be talking next week about how to wrap up the year and what to do getting ready for next year. So on behalf, this is actually perfect timing, I guess. On behalf of Taylor, our podcast producer, Joe, I'm Andy Weins with Camo Crew Responsible Junk Removal. We will see you next week. Bye now.
Thanks for listening. Tap subscribe or follow to get the latest episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review and tell a friend to listen. To learn more, visit trashtalkbusinesspodcast.com. Bye now.